Hey guys, how are you? This is Ishai Breslauer, your host of the CRE SharkEye Show. Hope you guys are doing great today. Today we have Blima Ehrentreu. And the reason I got her on the show is because I saw the designs. She's a designer on the highest level. You guys are going to enjoy this conversation 100%. Blima, thank you so much for being with us. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for bringing me on.
No problem. Okay, so you know what? Before we even start getting into this whole discussion, if you could give everybody a 2-minute elevator pitch, what is your business about?
Sure. Are you timing this? Will I know exactly when the 2 minutes are up?
No, just talk.
Okay.
Don't worry about it. Some people, I'll tell you what, some people gave me a 2-minute elevator pitch that was 10 seconds, believe it or not. And some people gave it the 2-minute elevator pitch that took 5 minutes. But, you know, the idea is to give it concise so you guys will understand what Blima does and you guys can, and you, Blima, can tell them.
I am the founder and CEO of the Designers Group. We're an international interior design firm working out of Toronto, New York, and Miami with projects across the US and Canada. We have a really diverse portfolio of projects in the healthcare, multifamily, hospitality, and office space. And we are looking to really impact the interiors we work on in the best possible way for our clients and the end users. We have an incredibly diverse team of passionate designers who really care about every project and are super detail driven. Our clients and vendors that we work with really appreciate the clear and concise process that we use when it comes to every project. And we're really loving the fact that we get to do something that we're so passionate about and make that a career.
That's amazing. And I have so many questions to ask you. But before I do, tell us your story. How'd you get into this? And how'd you get into open this business and become such an important firm and doing such amazing stuff? Let's go back in time, all the way back.
So I would say my first interaction with design was probably when my parents took our house and decided to build a new one. So we actually rented the house across the street, and I was able to watch the entire process of a house being knocked down, watching the foundation getting poured, and just seeing the walls go up and seeing it come from a plan into real life. And it was then that I realized, hey, this is something that's really interesting. I love the process. I love the outcome. I would love to explore this as a possible career choice. So I went to school. I got a master's in interior design and interior architecture and design. And when I graduated, I worked at an architectural firm to get that experience of really understanding the technical side of how a project is built. And then another designer in Toronto, which is where I'm from, approached me and asked if I wanted to partner up and start a design firm. And what began as a 2-woman firm in Canada really grew into something that I would never have imagined. We have 3 locations now and a team of over 40. So it's been really amazing. And just seeing the impact that we could have is really, really incredible.
That's amazing. Just a quick question. You started in Canada and Toronto. You said Toronto, not Toronto. Like a real Torontonian. Let me ask you this. What got you to Brooklyn?
I moved to Brooklyn partly to open the firm and personal reasons. So I ended up here and
also to expand the market, I'm assuming.
New York was always a place that I had dreamed of working in. Like the design opportunities are just incredible.
Right, for sure, 100%. Want to ask you, you just like in your 2-minute elevator pitch, you just mentioned number of asset classes. And every asset class has its own way of thinking, is its own thing. Obviously, there are things that are similar, but tell me something, because many interior designers and architects, they like specialize in one thing and they do one thing and that's it. And that I know very few that say, I can do healthcare, I can do hospitality, I can do multifamily, I can do different things, I can do office, I can do different things, and it's all in my realm. Tell us a little bit about that.
So that's always been a conversation. Should we specialize in one asset class, one property type, or keep things interesting and diverse? And for myself, I love the fact that we're able to work in so many different industries. I feel like we take, for example, in healthcare, we brought a hospitality vibe into the healthcare space. So we're really working in different industries and bringing the different facets of those industries into others. In our office spaces, we want them to feel more residential. So we're bringing in some of the design elements that we would put into a lounge in a multifamily space. So there definitely is crossover, that's for sure. And the reason that I keep it diverse is because I think that keeps things interesting and we're able to learn so many new things and stay stimulated get stimulated. I know that, recently in the past year, we got into urgent care. So that was a space we had never done before.
Wow.
And just learning all about the code issue requirements and understanding what it is that brings a person into an urgent care and just really figuring out the whole process of that was really interesting. We were working with a new company who this was also their first time doing it. And we have 18 locations that we're working on this year, and another, like for the next year, also a whole bunch of new locations. So it's just been really interesting learning all about that. Healthcare itself is a space that I had never been in, and just learning all about senior living and taking the lessons that I had from visiting my grandmother and bringing that, as well as all the code issues and requirements and durability, etc. It just, for us, it keeps things very interesting, forces us to stay on top of all new items and relevant information. I love it. And I think that my team also really enjoys being able to work on different project types.
Tell me something. Let's dig in for a little bit, because I want to sort of talk about each of the different asset classes that you guys deal with. Let's dig into a little bit of hospitality, which is, to me, it's one of the most exciting things. I never got to work with hospitality, as this is my passion for the most part, but I guess the wrong passion throughout the COVID time, but hopefully now it's coming back. But it was always a material I was reading about. And I'm always fascinated when I go into hotels, resorts, all that stuff. And you look around, I love seeing a really cool design. Tell us a little bit about that asset class and why do you bring in your team in order to get better in that space, which is obviously changing all the time, especially, now after the pandemic, when they want to come back. I'm assuming many of them want to do tweaks, renovations, different designs, bring something different. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I think with hospitality, you have room for originality, and there is a larger budget for design typically, just because that's what's bringing people into the space. And it's really all about the experience. So we always say it's not just what you see, it's how you feel in the space. So we'll make sure to incorporate a good smell, just when everything comes together in the space, and it's really about how people are experiencing it. So that's what I really say when it comes to hospitality, and really every space. And that's what I'm saying. There is definitely overlap in different industries and what we're trying to achieve. But for hospitality, I would say it's really about the experience. And we try to ensure that the interiors that we're designing are geared towards whoever the target profile is and whoever our clients are trying to bring through the door, and just give them that experience that aligns with the mission of the company and their brand.
You know, it's so hard talking about something so visual in words. And I'm assuming you've done this podcast so many times. But if you could walk us through a hotel that you've done recently that was really exciting, and what was going on in the room? What was going on with all your team, with everybody through, let's do this, let's put that, what about this, what about that? And you came out with all these ideas. Tell us about this experience. Walk us through. You know, people are listening to a podcast, meaning, and are trying to understand, okay, how is it really to design a hotel? If you could walk us through a little bit about that experience to give us a vivid idea.
So I will say, when you say recent project, we haven't really been working on hotels recently because that market really was put on pause for us over COVID. But a lot of our other project types sort of have the same idea. We're working on a drug rehab now, and we wanted to give the patients a hotel-like experience.
That's a great example.
So it pretty much starts when you walk through the door, and the intake process, which is the same with a hotel. Like, where are you going when you walk through the door? Is there a face greeting you? Do you know where the reception desk is? So in this drug rehab, we wanted it to feel like a hotel, and that's why I'm using it as an example, but giving the patients that experience of coming in, an easy check-in, and then from when they check in, how they get to their room, and how they'll continue into the other spaces and how they're using them. And also another thing that we do keep in mind, especially in these types of situations, is tours, because a lot of people are coming in deciding, like looking at different facilities and deciding which one they want to go to. So we always want to try to position different spaces in the front of the building, different spaces in the back, what would appeal to people who are walking through the door, what will really give them the best experience. In a drug rehab, for example, how we wanted them to feel positive and want to get better and want to put in that work in order to do that. Making the waiting areas feel more like lounges instead of, you know, when we walked in the waiting room, they have some people coming in during the day or waiting for their meds, and we changed that room into a lounge. Instead of having all the chairs kind of like a doctor's office, we wanted the people using the space to feel like they were in a hotel. So it's all about the details, but really just thinking, what is our plan for the space? What do we want people to feel like when they're in the space?
It's amazing. When you come and you are thinking about a new project, you know what? I want to ask a different question. Out of all the designs that you guys are doing, is it mostly redevelopment, meaning rehab and stuff like that, or also development, ground up? Are you also involved in that type of those types of projects?
Definitely. There's always, I see with our project flow is interesting. Sometimes we're working on a lot more ground ups than renos. Sometimes it's more renos. Right now, I would say we're doing a lot of rehabs in a lot of different spaces. We're doing a lot of multifamily, a lot of healthcare, but rehabs. In all the nursing homes, skilled nursing facilities that I worked on, there was only one ground up that I worked on, just because that industry, it's a lot harder to get beds. And most of the time you're working with an existing facility and transforming it just because of the way the healthcare system works.
Incredible. Let's talk a little bit about the corporation that you need to have, okay? Because an architect, I worked with architects, of course, on the side of development and the entire planning, the pre-plan. And the architect comes in, designers are coming in, the MEPs, the GCs coming in, everyone on the team is coming, the engineers, all types, everybody's involved. Tell us a little bit about, the corporation. When you come into a design, when do you have to start consulting with other people? What are the, pitfalls on the way? What are the difficulties? Who do you have to deal with? How do you deal with the engineering side of things? The structural type, part of the construction. Tell us a little bit about that experience on the planning phase.
I always say the earlier you bring us in, the better, just because we're coming from an interior perspective. So the way we're looking at a space might be a little bit different than an architect who is looking at the structure as well. And we have so much experience with how people use a space, and sometimes just having us from the start of the project where we look at the layouts and we advise and change things around really proves to be advantageous for our clients. But that's not to say that we won't come in after that. And it really depends on the project. Our clients that we've been working with for a long time bring us in right at the start. And a lot of the time people realize the importance of that, but definitely I would say the earlier the better. And
Right.
in general, we are working with teams on most of our projects, especially the ground up that we're working on, just because there's so much that goes into it. And, you know, even when you're talking about mechanical, electrical, structural, we're working on an event space now that's in a cellar and sub-cellar of a building. So we have columns all over the place, and we came in as a structural engineer was working on it, and we had to explain to them that we need a skylight to go up 17 stories, and we have to make sure that the column is not going to be right where that skylight is, because that is going to be used for Jewish weddings where you need to get married. Some people get married want to get married under a sky, which you need to have access to that skylight. So then the column can't be in the middle because you have to have space to maneuver. So there's just a lot of figuring everything out and making sure that everything aligns, and that once we're doing the project, that it could get executed properly. And back to mechanical, for example, we want all the mechanical equipment to be in the right space so the ceiling doesn't go too low, the vents to not ruin our ceiling design. So there is a lot that goes into it and a lot of coordination, and our team really has that attention to detail that's needed for these type of projects. And we don't have anyone who does sales on our team, and our vendors that we work with, all the trades, they really have been bringing us into other projects just because they see that and how important it is working together and doing it properly.
I love it. You know, there's so many. I'm always fascinated seeing, you know, a new construction or even an old one. Doesn't matter if it's a rehab. So many things go through the wall. Did you ever have a challenge with your design where, you know, the MEP part and all the technicals are coming through, and you saw a real challenge and you had to go through this? If you could walk us through what happened and what you guys do, and how you overcame those challenges. Like you gave an example more of the structural side of things, but you know, when it comes to all the things that are behind the wall, how do you overcome those from a design perspective?
Well, I would say, for example, a plumbing wall has to be a little bit thicker than a regular wall, and we've sometimes run into issues with that, just also to keep the bathroom ADA. And once you push out the wall, there's been some issues with having our 5-foot turnaround. That's just an example that I just thought of right now. But I mean, all the consultants that we're working with, we're all there to really just create the best possible space. So we really are a team working together. So if, let's say, we have a certain design vision that we want to implement, they'll work together with us. But if they have certain constraints, we'll work together with them, just so that we do get the best product. And I think that it's so important always to be able to work together with the other parties involved in anything that you're working on, but especially when it comes to construction, because of all the details. And I really say it's the details that make the design. So we really have to work together well with the vendors and whoever is involved in the project. And the way we work is we don't take any money on the side. Whatever we're billing the client, those are our fees. And I always tell vendors when they reach out to me, we're not marking up what you send us, but we want to know that we can work well together. That's so important for us. If you can deliver for our client, then we would love to work together. And that's really what we're looking for. People to be on our team so that we can really deliver the best possible product.
Tell me something. Going back in time for a second, what was your first project?
Originally, when I started working as an interior designer, I was working on residential homes. And I do remember my first house that I was designing. We came up with this beautiful design and we picked the sofa that we loved, checked it on the plan. Everything was perfect, looked amazing. We showed the client all, everything that we had come up with. And when it came time to deliver, the sofa would not fit through the front door. And I always, now that's something that I always talk about because there are so many details that go into every single project. And here was a sofa that looked beautiful. We checked the dimensions, it worked, but we forgot to check which door it would go through, and it just did not fit. So we took, and this is also something that I always tell my team, that we have to take responsibility for our mistakes because people are hiring us for our expertise. So if we make a mistake, we stand behind it. So we took care of the restocking fee and they remade the sofa for us, and it was a lesson learned. But now, for example, back to this project that I was just talking about, this seller and sub-seller, we're designing different things. Like the ceilings are really high and we have all these ideas, but we're making sure that whatever it is that we're designing will fit into the building because it has to go in the elevators and we have to make sure that the size is big enough. So some of what we're proposing, we have to actually install before the windows go in. So it's very interesting just thinking about all the details and the process, but we're always learning new things. There's always new situations coming up, but it's a learning process. And that's why it's so interesting. And that's why every project is so different.
You remind me, years and years ago, I was in Panama. I went to the shul, and all of a sudden, when I walk in through the shul, like one of the new shuls there, and I'm walking, and I'm the guy who hosted me, and I'm looking at the floor, and I said, "How big is this tile?" It was marble. How big is this thing? It was huge. It was just, it was the biggest thing that I've ever seen. So I said, "How'd you guys bring it in?" So they said, before they poured the ceiling, the concrete of the ceiling, they had to put in the floor, meaning because it came with cranes, they had to put it down. So imagine they would, meaning that was the design. Imagine they would do it before. So I understand exactly what you're saying. You have to plan ahead and know every single thing that you do, and experience really is the key here. When you, going back to that first project and then moving, obviously you worked for someone, then you worked for yourself, but what was the point that when you moved from the residential side of things, doing private homes, to the more commercial side of things?
It really was a process, and we always held on to a couple of residential projects throughout. We were always working on different types of industries, so it didn't really matter to us to always have a couple of residential, high-end residential projects as well. Happens to be in the last year, and over COVID, we really did work on a lot of residential homes. And in the last year, we completed or gave over any of our residential projects because we really are set up for commercial projects. And I just felt like our best skill set is used for commercial projects, and our residential clients were getting a great home, but I just felt like we're better suited for that. That is one type of project. Like when people ask me, I say we work on every project type besides an end user on a residential home. So we'll do a development and we'll work on multifamily projects and anything like that, as long as we're not working with an end user. It's just when it's someone's home, it's a lot more personal and there's a lot more back and forth, and the way we set up our process and the way we work our design, I just felt like we should stick to commercial projects, and it's been working really well.
It's a process when you decide you're a B2B and not a B2C. It makes complete sense. It's a completely different thing. And I think that everybody works in commercial real estate pretty much understand exactly what you're saying. Meaning I went through this, of course, also, because in my very beginning, I started working for one of the largest developer actually in Israel, and I was in America bringing buyers, but I worked on the more personal aspect. And when I moved to the commercial, I said, oh my gosh, this is home. I feel I'm talking to business people on the business side of things instead of thinking if this wall is going to bother me or not, and this jacuzzi is going to be for me or not. And all of a sudden you work on a much bigger scale, and the emotions are not pretty much there. It's more financial. I love that. This is a beautiful aspect. Tell us a little bit about your team, how you built your team around you. I saw the ads that you take pride of being an entrepreneur as a woman and having the team around you. Tell us a little bit about that. I see your smile already, meaning the people watching it on the media, on the podcast medium. Tell us a little bit about that pride and that aspect of your business.
So it's a good question. It really has just kind of morphed into this incredibly diverse team. To me, it's not, I always say that because we have so many different backgrounds, religions, cultures, people from different countries, like just the design that we get as a result is so much more colorful. And I really see that everyone respects each other and learns from each other. And I love the fact that we're all able to collaborate so well together. And it's interesting because as a woman in the real estate industry, there is a lot of opportunity, and there also is just that fact that we want to really do a good job and make an impact. And I love that we're able to do it. I would say that, something that my team and I are very into is really using our platform to be able to do good. And really, when you talk about the team, we just started for our 5th year in New York, we started the TDG Insider, which is people can come and experience a day in our office. And this is for different people exploring either a first career or a second career, people trying to decide, is design for me? And is this a career that I'd like? I had so many people calling me over the years. And I remember when I was choosing it as a career, it might look like all we do is pick paint colors or something like that and really understand what it is about. I just thought that if people could come and really experience what it is to be a designer and work on different tasks. And so, my team created something amazing, like a great day where people come in, they get to meet the designers, they get to be mentored by one if they want. We actually have someone here today now. We do it once a week, and they get to really just see what it is that we do. And that's just one example of how we're using our firm for that, but also the fact that they get to meet the team and just it's really great. So I'm really proud of that initiative that we started, but we've also started quite a few others. There's the TDG Furniture Exchange, there's TDG Gives Back. So I just really love being able to use our platform for the good. And I don't know if so basically it's been really amazing being able to start and continue these initiatives.
And tell me something, those people are coming to experience design, to experience your office, to get the mentorship. Where are they coming from? Meaning they hear about you from the media, from the social media. How do they get to you, and where are they coming from?
So someone in my office has been in touch with the different schools here. the different design schools, and we have put it on LinkedIn and our Instagram, and people who know me and call me about their career choice, I tell them about it, and it's just a quick form on our website. And back to the team, by the way, I was thinking about this when you asked the question, and then it slipped my mind, but it was actually interesting because when I started here in New York, I hired, my first hire was an intern, and she worked for about a year and then got married. And so she left, had a couple of kids, and she actually reached back out to me about, almost a year ago that she wants to come back. So she is back here and she's working, and it's just so nice that everyone here is really a family. And just, you know, we have one of our designers now, her visa was up and she's moving back to Malaysia, and she is going to be continuing working remotely. So we really try to be inclusive and work with everyone and whatever it is that their personal needs are, and really make it an amazing, inclusive environment for everyone.
Tell me something, Blima, shifting gears a little bit about the market today and where it's going. How does that affect a firm like yours, and where you guys seeing, you know, business coming in, meaning from which asset class, which type, what type of activity, what is the pivoting that you have to do in order to shape yourself up and to put yourself together with the market today, where it's going?
Good question. So I say that any business owner has to be innovative and just go with the flow, because you really don't know what is going to happen. I think that the fact that we are working in so many different industries does give us a little bit of wiggle room when it comes to that, because over COVID, we were able to work on residential projects. And then now I see our office projects are starting to start up again. And it's just being innovative and really just being able to go with the flow. I would say that over COVID, we actually started like a couple of very interesting different things that we had some extra time. So we came up with personalized Zoom backgrounds for companies. Everyone's on Zoom all day, and companies have a presence that they want to maintain, and they want their employees, when they're on Zoom calls, to have that level of professionalism that they would have when they're in the office. So we did a bunch of these. We like virtually designed office spaces, and that kind of brought us into branding, because we're working, when you're just virtually designing an office, it's really about branding. And we started doing branding now for a lot of our clients, a lot of our multifamily clients, and the urgent care that I mentioned, we did all their branding. So it's all part of the creative process and really just seeing what's needed in the market. Another thing that we've been pretty into recently is the virtual experiences that our clients could have before a space is built. And especially now with the metaverse being something that everyone's talking about, and like I was saying at that Prop Tech conference, that was a big ticket item, everyone talking about just the virtual world. And so we like to stay on top of those trends, and we've been building out our spaces. We have the goggles, and you know, our clients can really experience the space before it's built and see if they want to make changes, see just really, we as designers, we're able to visualize what it is that we're designing, but a lot of people, it's harder for them. So, you know, we always did renderings, but this is just a real 3D experience that we're able to build if our clients want us to. So it's pretty interesting. And, you know, and that's what I also find interesting, really being able to be on top of the trends and seeing how we could apply different things in the world to design. We're always using current events to build different concepts and getting inspired by the things around us and bring them into our design. So, and I love to travel, for example, which is another way that I say stay inspired, and just seeing different things in different spaces and in different capacities is just interesting. So I would say that that's something that I always keep in mind with the way the market is going, and just go with it and see how you could bring in whatever it is that's going around us in a positive way into what you're doing.
You spoke about office. And you said offices, and this is one of the most, I would say, the most mind-boggling situations right now, because everybody understands everybody needs a roof over their head. So multifamily wins, and even single-family homes are meaning the difficult. I'm not going to get into my analysis about the market, but right now, when we speak about offices, that asset class, nobody knows where it's going. And now you're saying you're seeing more. What do you see from your perspective, and what type of designs are the most? That's very interesting, because I really want to understand what type of designs are really, from your perspective, are more popular.
So a lot of businesses are giving their employees a hybrid work experience where they can work from home and come into the office a couple times a week. So a lot of what we're doing in the office space now is collaborative spaces, because that is why people are coming into the office. I am a big proponent of collaborating together. I think what 1 + 1 is not 2 when it comes to a team. It's exponentially better. And we collaborate on all our projects. So I really do see the importance. And that's why when we're designing office spaces, we're always encouraging our clients to have those spaces for collaboration. And there are ways of doing it safely. We definitely are working with larger spaces now to give people space. We're bringing in a lot of technology where you don't have to necessarily touch the surfaces. Conference rooms, you can bring remote, an iPad in instead of everyone touching a shared computer. So there are ways to do it and to keep it safe. But I definitely do see a lot more collaboration spaces in offices. And I think it is due to this hybrid work model that a lot of businesses are adopting.
Amazing. I love it. You're so, how do you say, open-minded when it comes to that. And I love that aspect of pivoting. You just mentioned, before we say our goodbyes soon, you just mentioned you love to travel. What is your favorite? Give us some of your favorite areas to travel and what you learned from.
People always ask me, which is your favorite place that you went to? And I really think that every place that I go to is my favorite in a different way. You actually just brought up Panama. I was there a couple of weeks, probably 4 weeks ago. 3 or 4 weeks ago by now. And I loved it. It was a beautiful place. I saw so many containers just sitting in boats. And I felt like, oh, that's where all our furniture is that we're waiting for and all our materials. But I was in Toronto this past weekend, which is where I grew up. So that's a favorite place for me. I was in Houston on Tuesday at a job site. I was in Florida at our Florida office on Monday. So I really, I went to Greece a couple months ago, and that was beautiful. Love Europe. There's so much culture there. I would say I was in Iceland a couple of years back. I loved it. I thought it was so interesting how even when you're freezing cold, like the cold could also add. Yeah, that was an amazing trip. I loved Croatia. Also super. Israel is one of my favorite places. I find that it's so cool that, in 8 hours or however long it takes, you could get a totally different climate, and just like, there's just so many different types of places there. Just every place just has so many different unique, I think it's not just about what it looks like, but it's also the culture. And I love meeting people in different areas. I'm not very good at different languages, so like I always prefer when they can speak English, but besides for that, it's always just interesting to see how different people live, how their life is in terms of their living, and also just what their entertainment is. And just really when I go to places, I do love to see the culture. And I was in Dubai last year, and I went to a mosque, and I thought it was so interesting, like how their prayers, and just every place. I don't have something specific, but I really do like all the experiences.
Amazing. Well, we're here with Blima Ehrentreu, and you just said you like to speak mostly English and languages. is not, I guess, the strongest thing, but you definitely speak the language of design in the strongest and most profound way. And you guys can see the links here to get in touch with her. But Blima, please tell everybody how they can find you.
You could probably Google the designers group and our contact is all there, but www.thedesignersgroup.com. And yeah, that would probably be the easiest way.
And you guys can see the links, the website, you can contact her.
Oh, you put that all up? Oh, thank you.
LinkedIn, well, not meaning they can see it now that obviously we are publishing it, and they'll be able to contact you the second they want. And I'm sure they're going to get excited. And once you see the website, once you see the design, you really, really drool because it's amazing. They do incredible job. Blima, thank you so much for being with us. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. It was so nice to meet you. And next time you're in New York or Miami or Toronto, let me know. I might be in one of those places. And if I'm in Israel, I will definitely look you up.
Hack us for sure.
Okay.
Thank you so much. You guys,
Okay.
I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next show. Blima, wait a second. I'll be with you in a second. I'll just say goodbye to our listeners. You guys, I'll see you in the next show. Take care. I hope you enjoyed.